Hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar for Making Tax Digital for Income Tax. Today's session is going to be all about the changes in legislation set out by HMRC on how sole traders and landlords are going to report on their income and expenses. We're here today to support you on that journey, provide guidance based on what HMRC has set out, but in a more simplified way. Today's webinar is more in-depth than top level, but it's not going to be as detailed as our online course where you can earn a digital badge. And I'll talk more about this later on in the session. The questions panel will be open today, so if you can hang fire with your questions, as we might actually cover some of the topics or the particular questions that you're asking. So we're not going to be able to answer every single question that we have in today. We do have quite a lot of you on today's session. But don't worry, if you don't get an answer live on today's session, we will reach out to you via email after the webinar has ended. Now this session is going to last approximately 45 minutes and you will receive a link to the recording of today's session in your follow-up email, and you'll get that around an hour after the session has ended. So don't worry if you don't catch everything first time round, as there is going to be a lot of information for you to absorb, so you are going to be able to revisit that in that session at your own pace. One last thing I want to make you aware of, as this webinar is not going to be a product demonstration as such. This session is purely about legislation. I do have a small video to show you, but we do have some webinars coming up where we're going to go more in depth in product demonstration coming up, so keep an eye out for those as well. But we're going to be more talking about what product solutions we have towards the end of the session as well. Okay, so I just want to introduce myself. So my name is Abby and I'm a learning facilitator here at Sage. And I'm going to be taking you through Making Tax Digital for Income Tax and what it could mean for you. Now we do have some of my colleagues supporting us today. So we have Sikandar from Compliance and we also have Albi as well. So just before we do get into the session, just a little bit of housekeeping. So some of you may have attended our webinars before, some of you may be new. So we'll go through, what to expect. So when you join, you will be placed on mute automatically. If you wish to ask any questions, then you just click on the icon that looks like a little speech bubble with the question mark in the middle. And then if you pop your questions across to us, make sure you press that below send button, and one of us will be able to pick those questions up. Again, just a reminder for those of you who have just joined us, we may not be able to answer every question on today's session live, but we will try and reach out to as many of you as possible if you don't get an answer straight away. There is a handout available for today's session. I do strongly recommend that you do download a copy. And it's just that little icon that looks like a little document with a folded corner. That's going to have links to helpful resources, and it won't be available after the session has ended. So please do make sure that you are downloading that before the end of the session. And just a reminder again, this session is recorded just like all of our webinars, and you will receive that link in your follow-up email. So this is what we're going to be covering in today's session. So we've got quite a lot to get through, so please do bear with me. But we're going to start by introducing Making Tax Digital, what it is and when it was first introduced. Then we'll look at who will be impacted and when are the different thresholds. We'll also look at what are the requirements, and we've broken it down into 3 sections. So recording, submitting your quarterly updates and your final adjustments and your tax return. We'll delve into the digital records, the quarterly updates and what to expect to provide to HMRC. We'll look at key dates for submissions and deadlines. And then lastly, we'll look at ways and means and how you can help, how we can help you plan and prepare and what actions you may need to take. Towards the end of the session, like I say, if there's any questions that we can pick up if we've got time, then we will look at those as well. So what is Making Tax Digital for Income Tax? So Making Tax Digital, also known as MTD, was first introduced in 2019 for VAT. But it's 7 years later, in April 2026, when arguably one of the biggest changes is set to arrive. So MTD for income tax will affect millions of sole traders and landlords. Now, it's going to be introduced in stages, and we'll come on to that in just a moment, but you may have more time than you think. However, we're always encouraging you to prepare now, so when the time comes, you already have your ducks in a row. So who and when? The criteria for MTD for income tax is sole traders and landlords with UK and or foreign property. And also as well, shared ownership of properties is included in that as well. If you are a sole trader with multiple businesses, then it may be, it will be the combined income of those businesses that will determine if you cross the threshold. Now, you could also be both a sole trader and a landlord, so therefore it's the combined income before expenses. A key point to note here is that if you get income from a jointly owned property, so you might own a property with your sibling or a friend or a relative, when you're coming to do your income tax, it is just your share of the property that will count towards your qualifying income. So phase one is based off those earning over £50,000 a year. Phase two is income over £30,000 a year. And phase three is over £20,000 a year. Well, you might be wondering, well, when is all of this happening? So £50,000 a year is from April 6th, 2026. £30,000 a year is from the 6th of April 2027. And the £20,000 a year is by the 6th of April 2028. Now, the scope of who is impacted by this legislation has changed slightly, and HMRC have decided that income from partnerships is no longer counts towards qualifying income. So just to recap, who and when, it is the combined turnover before expenses. It is self-employment and property, UK and foreign, and your qualifying income is assessed 2 tax years before the tax year in question. So if you qualify for phase one in April 2026, it is your income based on the tax year 24-25 that is being assessed as to whether your income qualifies for MTD. We've already discussed who is in with MTD for income tax. So we know that that is sole traders and landlords with UK and foreign property. And this again also includes shared ownership where rental income is received. Now, you may be wondering, well, how do I know if I'm exempt? So what I've done is I've listed just a few here on the right. So I haven't got them all listed on here because I couldn't fit them all on the slide. So we've got some. So limited companies are not included, partnerships, trusts, estates, trustees of registered pension schemes, and non-resident companies. Someone with a power of attorney, and someone who doesn't have a UK national insurance number, or someone who may claim married couples allowance or blind persons allowance. Again, what I am going to suggest for you to do as part of this process, if you're not sure whether you need to comply, is check out the guidance on the government website, as there is more listed than what I could fit on here. So I have linked this at the bottom of the handout, so you can see there. To find out more about exemptions, click here. So I definitely recommend check that out as part of your process of signing up to MTD for income tax. Okay, so let's have a look at the requirements. So as I mentioned earlier, you can break down MTD for income tax into 3 sections. So firstly, we have recording your income and expenses. Now, if you're already using software, you may already be doing these steps. So in that case, nothing is changing. You just keep recording your transactions. You just need to make sure that you are recording for each business or property that you own. Secondly, is the quarterly updates. So these quarterly updates are just going to be totals for each category, which if you have entered into the software already, then they will be calculated and added together for you. You're not actually sending HMRC transactional data. Lastly, you've got any final adjustments and corrections, and then submitting a tax return. Although you can make adjustments throughout the year, you may need to check if any final adjustments or if you need to claim any applicable relief. And this can be done at this point. Once all the checks have been done, you can then submit a final tax return confirming everything has been submitted and it's to the best of your knowledge. Okay, so let's move on to digital records and quarterly updates explained. So when it comes to processing in the software, you must enter all your income and expenses. And if you are a sole trader and a landlord, you must keep property digital records separate from your business digital records. When entering transactions, you must include an amount, date, and tax category. And these tax categories have been defined by HMRC. So they'll maybe turnover, cost of goods, bought for resale, wages, salaries, other staff costs, car, van, and travel expenses. Now, particularly for retail sales, you may choose to record your daily gross takings for all retail sales as a single digital record rather than putting every single item through there. So you might be wondering, well, what am I expected to record? So for your self-employment, it will be the likes of including sales, takings, fees, cost of stock, travel, office, and other financial costs. If you own a property independently or shared, you will be looking at recording rent, lease fees, reverse premiums, inducements, cost of repairs, maintenance, and potentially other services. You may find you're already recording all of this information, so this is part of the process that may be no different to you. Additionally, you can automate some of your processing using something called bank feeds, which exists in our products already, such as Sage Accounting and Sage 50 Accounts. You can use bank feeds rules to automate your transactions as and when they come in from the bank as well. And that's something that I've dealt a lot with 50 Accounts. I deliver the bank feeds webinars on there as well. So it is a very popular feature to use, and it can save you a lot of time as well. So quarterly updates are a simple summary of income and expenses, and it's going to support you and HMRC understanding in your tax and national insurance liability across the year. So what must be in a quarterly update? So it's going to be income and income and expense tax category totals for the period. So you're not actually sending HMRC transactional data. This is the same information that would have been provided in the self-assessment tax return, but now it's just spread out. It's provided quarterly. Now, don't worry if your data is not completely accurate within these stages, because you can always adjust in the next quarter as the periods are cumulative. And we're going to come onto that more in a moment. You just need to make sure that at the final stage of coming to submit your tax return, it is as accurate to the best of your knowledge. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to show you a short video of the quarterly updates in our accounting product. It is very top level. due to us still being in the testing phase. But at least it will give you an idea of what you can expect when submitting your quarterly updates.
Once MTD for income tax is available in your Sage accounting software, select Income Tax from the left navigation menu to activate. You'll see two options. If you're not already registered with HMRC, click here. If you've already registered and need to activate your software, click this option. You'll now have the option to connect to HMRC. Following the on-screen instructions, you'll be asked to log in to the gov.uk website with your user ID and password created when you signed up. To enable your software to connect to HMRC, click here. To find your business, enter your national insurance number. Confirm the details on the screen are correct and click Confirm. Once you have activated MTD for income tax in your software, you will be presented with a summary of your tax estimate, quarterly updates, and end-of-year tasks. End-of-year tasks are accessible only after all 4 quarterly updates have been submitted. Within the quarterly update section, you can view the number of days remaining until your next quarter is due. Each period is represented by a distinct tile displaying the relevant submission dates. To submit your upcoming quarter, select View and Send Update. This section will display all your category totals, which are calculated based on the data entered into the software. As long as you continue entering transactions as standard practice, submitting quarterly updates simply involves verifying that the information is accurate to the best of your knowledge. Should you notice any discrepancies, they can often be easily corrected. Just locate the relevant transaction in the software and make the necessary adjustments to ensure accuracy. In the top right, you have the option to download this information as a PDF document. Once you have reviewed and confirmed the figures, select Send to HMRC. A confirmation message will appear, indicating that this action will adjust your annual tax estimate. Please note that no payment is required until your final tax return has been submitted. Click here to send update to HMRC. On your summary page, you will see a message along the top stating the update is being processed, and it may take up to an hour to see a change in the quarterly update status. Your tax estimate figure will be revised each time you submit your quarterly updates. You can also view a breakdown and view comments.
Okay, so that does give you a little bit of a taste as what you can potentially expect in one of our products. Okay, so let's move on to submissions and deadlines. Okay, so let's look at the, as a whole, we've got, spanning right from 26 to 2028. So then you can kind of see what we're expecting. So the update periods for the quarterlies are by default 6th of April to the, aligned to the tax year. So it'll be 6th of April to the 5th of July. So you've got update 1. Now you do also have calendar periods, as you can see on the right hand side there, that will run from the 1st of April to the 30th of June. So, depending on which way you work, you can align to either or. Now the submission deadline is the 7th of the following month, so i.e. 1 month and 2 days after the end of the standard update period. The calendar quarters will also follow the same rules, so 1 month and 2 days after the end of the period. Now, as I mentioned, as you go through, the periods are cumulative. So it then runs from the 6th of April to the 5th of October. 6th of April to the 5th of Jan. And then the 6th of April to the 5th of April. So you can see the periods are cumulative So like I say, whatever happens in quarter one there, then, you know, when you get to quarter two, do you then need to, you know, make some adjustments or make some changes, so the periods are cumulative. And then moving on to the final tax return, and that's when you'll pay, and the deadline is the same for self-assessment. So it's always going to be the 31st of January following the tax year. Now, I know we're going to get this question, we get it on every session, you know, well, does this mean I pay more or anything like that? No. How often you pay remains the same. So that is not changing. But that just means that gives you, you know, from April till the following January. So you've got all that time to make those adjustments, and you know, claim any applicable relief. Okay, so let's have a look at this as a whole picture. So it's kind of another bit of a diagram, but we're just going to talk about it in a different way. So here we have the taxpayer. That might be yourself. Let's call them Joe Bloggs. Joe Bloggs has two businesses, one UK property solely owned that he rents out, and then he has a property that he has shared ownership with his brother, where he also has rental income. He will adhere to the standard period, so aligned with the tax year. So what he's going to do is he's going to record quarterly updates for his first business. He's then also going to record records for his second business. Again, they have to be completely separate because they're two separate sources of income. He'll then also record for his property, but he'll have, again, two separate. But what he will do is when he comes to submit his quarterly updates for his property, he will then submit those together. So you'll only submit, for your properties, you'll only submit one set of quarterly reports for all properties that you own. So the values are combined for those. But when it comes to self-employment businesses, so like your sole trader businesses, they need to be kept separate. So once all of your quarterly updates have been submitted, you will enter the end year process, where you'll make any final adjustments and allowances. So this could be dividend income, capital gain, or claim for marriage allowance. Essentially anything that is on your tax return now that sits outside of the self-employment and property pages. Now, I just want to remind you, all of these adjustments can be done throughout, and you do not have to wait till the end of January to make those adjustments. And as I've explained, by the 31st of January, you will then submit your final tax return. And all you're doing is confirming that all that information that you've already submitted is correct and accurate to the best of your knowledge. Meaning HMRC can give you a more accurate estimation of your tax liability. So hopefully this does give you more clarity on what you can expect from Making Tax Digital for income tax. If you are already entering your records digitally, you're already halfway there. It's the in-year process that has changed. But again, all the software is doing is taking your category totals based on what you've entered into the software, and that's what needs to be sent quarterly. And your tax return is just clarifying what you've already sent. It's just spreading out the workload rather than having to do it all in one go. Okay, so if you miss any of the deadlines that I have just mentioned, penalty points will apply. Under the new penalty regime, you will accrue points for late submissions and late payments, and this will translate into monetary fines once a certain number of points have been accrued. So under the new penalty regime, you will accrue points for late submissions and late payments. And as I've mentioned, this will translate into monetary fines once 4 points have been accrued. You need to make sure that you are filing those quarterly updates on time, And if you fail to do so, you will get a penalty point for each deadline you miss. So if you miss all 4 quarterly updates, you will get a financial, well, miss the quarterly update deadlines, you will get a financial penalty of £200. If you have multiple entities and you miss a deadline for all 3 of them, then you will still only get 1 point as an individual. Hope that makes sense. Points for MTD for VAT are not linked. They're completely 2 separate processes, and I do find that we do get this question, you know, what about my VAT? I do MTD for VAT. So they're 2 separate processes, so the points are not linked. If you get 3 points and begin to be consistent with your submissions on time for the next 12 months, points will be deducted. And lastly, to confirm, for the first year, there will be no penalty points to allow everybody an adjusting period. Okay, so it is a confirmed soft landing. So within your first year, you are not going to, you know, there'll be no penalty points to allow, you know, and which will not result in a financial penalty. So just to get, you know, reassure you, within the first year, you have got that little buffer. Okay, so planning, preparations, and actions. So now that you understand your obligations under MTD and the work that's involved, you might want to take time to consider whether you want to engage with an agent, a bookkeeper, or an accountant if you don't have one already. So you might want to use a bookkeeper for the quarterly updates, use a separate accountant for the end of year tax return. And if you're a landlord, you may have a specialised agent for property businesses and a different agent for the remainder of your submissions. HMRC have committed to providing a solution ahead of April 26 that will allow a taxpayer to have more than one authorised agent. Now, what we do have here at Sage is we have an accountant directory. Now, we can't tell you whether you need an accountant. We can't give you that advice. What we do have is we have an accountant's directory. So it's up to you how much of the process you're willing to do, in which areas you may need more support in. So on your handout, if you have it downloaded, if you click accountant directory, which I'm going to quickly open mine now, so bear with me a moment. I want to show you this because it is a really useful tool that you can use. So in your accountant directory, you can come in here, and all these accountants that are on here can or you know, proficient with our software as well. So you can come in here, you can look through the list in here. Alternatively, in here you can click map view, because you might want to, you know, you might not be bothered if you want to do it face to face, but you can also find one in your area. So you can zoom in and you can find an accountant in your area. So definitely worth looking at that tool if you haven't already engaged with someone, if you're wanting to engage with someone. Okay, so moving the dial on your MTD plans. So first, you want to check eligibility. So you need to determine if you need to use MTD for income tax. Understand your income for the required periods to understand if you are over the income threshold and will need to comply, or if you are close to the threshold in case you need to monitor this closely for when you do cross the threshold. Next, you've got digital record keeping. So you want to ensure you have a system in place to keep digital records of your business income and expenses. This involves using compatible software to create and maintain these records and submit your information to HMRC. Next, you want to plan and manage your time. So you want to plan your time effectively to ensure you are ready to get your quarterly updates submitted on time to avoid those penalties. Next, you want to choose MTD compatible software that suits your business needs. Many software providers offer solutions that can help you comply with the new requirements. So as I've already just mentioned there, multiple agents. So you want to find out whether how much of the work you're willing to do. Do you need to engage with an agent, bookkeeper, accountant, to support you with that workload? Next, you want to consider training for yourself and your staff to ensure everyone is familiar with the new digital processes and how to use any new software. So as you know, we offer loads of free training online, and I am going to point that out in the session as well. So that is another thing to take into consideration. Voluntary sign up. So you can voluntarily sign up to MTD for income tax before it became mandatory for you. And this can help you get accustomed to the new system and iron out any issues early. Lastly, you want to stay informed. You want to keep up to date with any further announcements or changes to the MTD for income tax requirements. The government may provide additional guidance as the implementation date approaches. You can see the further support section for some useful links as we can provide, we can provide you to keep up to date. Okay, so the big question that often comes with these sessions is, what do we offer here at Sage? So let's simplify tax together. So let's take a look at some of the solutions that we offer here at Sage. So you might already be a customer with us. You might already have a product. You might go, well, actually, I've got multiple businesses. What do I do next? So what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to talk about pricing on this session. I just want to make you aware of the products that are currently available to you. So here are our products. Here's our roadmap of products that you can get access to. So first, we have individual free. So yes, we have a free solution. It does the bare minimum. It gets you compliant with MTD for income tax. It helps you manage income and expenses, self-employed income tax summary. You can record receipts manually. You get access to a free mobile app. One up from that is you have the first paid version. So you've got Sage Individual. And obviously, the more further up the tiers you go, the bigger the product, the more features you get access to. It's down to you and how much you want to do with the software. Do you just want to do the bare minimum? Do you want to get access to more features? So with Sage Individual, you get access to snap and scan receipts, auto categorize expenses, you get access to bank feeds, you get access to support with that as well, web chat support. So there's a lot more the further up we go. So like I say, so we've got Sage Accounting, which is we've got the Start, Standard, and Plus. Now we're not going to go into details on these again because there's so many features that you get access to the higher up you go. So what you want to do is you want to start looking for solutions with Sage, and these are your starting points. So we have Sage Individual, so you get your free one and then your paid one. So that does the basics. Gets your transactions recorded digitally to be able to submit your quarterly updates to HMRC and be able to submit your final tax return. Then we've got Sage Accounting, so that's your Start, your Standard, and your Plus, and that's where 3 different levels based on what sort of features you want access to. But what it is really good is all of these products have access to Sage Copilot. So that's the AI features, providing insights and even more automation. One thing that I do want to mention, I can see we've got questions about it. Well, actually, I've got multiple income sources. So how does this work? So with individual free, it only permits one income source. Any additional income sources, you will need additional paid licenses. So for example, you've got one sole trader business, okay, well, you could have that on individual free, and then say, well, actually I own 3 properties. So then your other 3 properties or other businesses, you would need to pick a paid product to use for those. You will need a license per income source, but you can use the same Sage login details. So it's not going to have an email address for, one each sole trader business, and I'm not going to need a login for each one of those. You will have the same Sage account that you can log in, and you can access all of those companies or income sources in one place. But again, you'll find out that more of that with our Sage accounting product. Like I say, we are going to be doing webinars. I'm going to show you where you can get registered for those as well. So a good question that's just coming there from Roy. So is individual free? Does it accommodate 2 individuals, me and my wife? So no. What you would need to do is you would need to have you both need to have signed up for that. You would need to you need to have a license per individual income source. So if you have one income source, you would sign up for that. You would put in your income and expenses, and then the other person would need to sign up also. Another good question there that's coming from Ian there. Do you have price and summary for the various products? So I'm going to talk about this on our next slide. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to talk a little bit more, do more with Sage. So we do software that keeps you compliant with Sage Accounting. You have free access to the free mobile app. You can process on the go. With our products, you can capture receipts and invoices, automate your processing, track invoices, forecast your cash flow. You can run management reports and see how your business is performing. We also offer free training on Sage University as well. And lastly, we offer world-class support. We do have an income tax hub support hub. So if you click on find out more, so Ian, this is kind of probably what you're looking for in terms of pricing on products and things like that. So I'll got this open. So I'm just going to quickly switch over. So this is our Making Tax Digital Income. Try that again. I've been saying it a lot. MTD Income Tax Hub. So this is where you're going to find out all the information. It covers a lot of what what I've already talked about today. So if you scroll down, so you can get MTD free into MTD software. That's going to talk about your individual free. But again, you'll only be able to have one income source on there. The next stage up from that is the Sage individual. So you've got individual free, and then Sage individual, which is the paid version. So if you scroll down past all the information, the further down you get, you can see there it starts at individual free and then individual. So you can get all that information on there as well. Okay, so we have MTD free testing that is going on at the moment. It has been going on since April last year. You can still join the testing phase. You would need to submit retrospectively for that. But there's, if you do join, there's fewer surprises with more control, reduced January stress, better cash flow planning, cleaner records. It gets you prepared for this process coming into place. Now again, even if you're not due to join in April, or you're not being made mandatory by April for you don't meet that first threshold, you can still join. You can still register early. So then when it comes around, you're ready for that process, but it just gives you confidence in compliance as well. And a little quote there, testing today means fewer surprises tomorrow. Clarity, confidence, and a head start for you and your accountant. If you are wanting to join this testing phase, the lovely Matt, who delivers these webinars. So if you can join his webinar, if you've got your handout downloaded, if you click here to register for a webinar on the handout, it will be available for you to register, and he will talk you through all about the testing phase and the pilot phase, as we call it here with Sage as well. If you want to learn more about that, then you can get registered for that as well. If you just want to go straight in and get registered, then for the testing phase, or it used to be called a beta, then you can, on your handout, we've got some resources here. One's a guide at the top, and then the bottom three are videos on how to actually get set up with that. Now, the moment you've all been waiting for, you know, especially if you're already on Sage Individual, if you used one of our products, then we have got a webinar coming up for managing income and expenses and taxes. So that's going to go through, it's going to talk about introduction to the software, give you a little tour, how to record transactions, and it's going to delve into the submissions as well. So definitely get registered for that webinar. Again, on your handout, click here to register for it. And Matt will also take you through that, and it's completely free, like today's webinar. So don't be shy and get registered for that one. Okay, so let's go through some important questions answered. I can see we're running a little bit out of time, so I'll try and be as quick as I can. So some frequently asked questions we get on every session is, can I just carry on using spreadsheets? You can, but only if they link to compatible bridging software that can submit your figures to HMRC digitally. So manual entry and copying and pasting will not be allowed when you come to submit your details. For your own personal reasons, if you still want to jot down and make notes and whatever in the spreadsheets, that's fine. But when it comes to submitting, you really need to be entering those details into your compatible software. I probably already mentioned this, but I'm going to reiterate again. Will I need to pay every quarter? So this is one of the biggest myths about MTD. I'll do 4 year ends and then I'll have to pay it another 4 times. It's not the case. When you pay, remains the same. Does HMRC want to see all of my accounting data? No. MTD does not require you to submit more data, but it does change how often you report it. Instead of a single annual return, you now need to send quarterly updates. With Making Tax Digital, will I pay more tax? So HMRC states that Making Tax Digital is to close the tax gap and avoid errors and fraud. If you've been completing your tax returns correctly, then Making Tax Digital shouldn't mean you pay any more or less tax. Okay, so let's summarize all the information we have covered. I do know that it is a lot of information we've covered and it's nearly taken us an hour, so I do apologize about that. But again, don't forget that you are going to get a recording of this webinar. You can go back and revisit parts that you may have missed when you've been taking notes. Videos are going to be included that I have played as well in that recording. But just to summarise, the first phase begins in April 26 for those earning over 50,000. This process is for sole traders and landlords. Income is assessed 2 tax years before the tax year in question. Transactions will be recorded digitally and submitted via compatible software. You will submit 4 quarterly updates and final tax return. Adjustments can be made throughout the year or at year end. Landlords need 1 report per quarter, no matter how many properties. You can register for the testing phase ahead of mandation April 26, so that is still available if you do want to join that. Again, don't forget to register for Matt's session for the pilot. I have provided some links down the right-hand side for further information. So if you have, so you have our income tax hub along there, along the top. There's also guidance on the HMRC website. I've also included 2 YouTube videos. The 2 shorts there, I think they're about a minute long. That was me and Duncan took part in that. Just some short burst information on those. So there's a part 1 and there's a part 2. Okay, so we are coming nearly to an end, so I do thank you for that and your patience. Just want to mention, if you want to earn a digital badge for free, we do have a course more in depth than what we've covered today. So it's a Making Tax Digital for income tax badge. You can share this badge with your colleagues, your clients, or even on social media such as LinkedIn. So if you do want to get registered for the course and fill out that course, you might want to share this with your colleagues as well. So you might want your staff to be more aware of what you need to do to be recording transactions and things like that. You can share this as well. The link is available. Okay, so what I'm going to say now is, although I'm not able to pick the questions up live because we have run over quite a bit, do get your questions in now. And again, I will reach out to you after the session has ended to see if we can pop an answer, but there's been a lot of questions that have come through. Apologies again for not being able to pick those up today. Okay, so that does bring us to the end of today's session. If you've got what you need to do and you want to leave the session, you will receive an email around an hour or so with links to both our webinar schedule and today's recorded session for you to refer back to if needs be. Upon exiting the session, you are going to see a survey at the end. If you could please let us know any feedback regarding today's session. Now remember, today's session was all about breaking down the guidance that has been set out by HMRC. The survey that you will see is about how we've done today on today's session. How have you found the webinar? What you liked, what you didn't like? What would you like to have seen? What can I have done better? We're always looking for improvements on these sessions. So please do let me know. Pop a comment on there, whether it's a long or short comment. Anything is really appreciated. We do like to read everything that does come through. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to wrap this session up. I want to say thank you to you all for your participation today and attending today's session and your patience as well. We have got plenty of sessions over the next couple of weeks, so if you do want to get registered, especially those ones that are relating to MTD and how to process in your software, then please do get registered for those as well. Okay, so I want to say another thank you and take care.